of the lucky men and women who will get the chance to be flight attendants. Just wait until you see what you'll have to do without getting paid to be part of the team. If this is your first time visiting our channel, don't forget to subscribe and please give this video a big thumbs up. Today we are showing you 10 strange requirements to work as a flight attendant. The look. You have probably noticed that flight attendants are some of the most good-looking men and women in the world, and there is a reason for this. Your look is one of the first things they will pay attention to if you want to be a flight attendant. First, you have to be a certain height. It changes depending on the airline that you are working for, but you usually have to be between 5'2" and 6'2" tall. Moreover, you can be required to have an arm reach of almost 7 feet while standing on the tip of your toes. The reason for this is that you shouldn't be too short or too tall for certain types of planes. Some airlines can't discriminate people for their height, but this is also the reason why some flight attendants are not able to do certain tasks. There is no specific weight, but it should be proportionate to the height. Some airlines require the flight attendants to have a BMI or body mass index between 19 and 25. In the USA, the average woman has a BMI of 26.5, so most of them wouldn't be able to work on planes. This is why in 2015, Air India asked 600 air hostesses to lose weight within 6 months or they would be losing their jobs. But it isn't as bad as what they did in the 30s, as these women had to go through a rigid examination 4 times a year to make sure they still looked good. The life. We expect flight attendants to be role models, and they have to be perfect even before getting the job. In the 60s, air hostesses were required to be single. Widows and divorcees with no children were considered, but the airline wanted to make sure that your job was the love of your life. Only 2 years ago, Qatar Airways was still firing flight attendants if they became pregnant or got married within 5 years of employment. There was no place for love in the air, but there is no place for hate either. Passing a background investigation is also an important requirement. It covers everything about you and can go back at least 10 years. Your parking tickets probably won't be a problem, but if you ever decided to drive a car while you were drunk, they won't trust you to work on a plane. We agree with this one this time. But cigarette smokers might not be happy to hear that you have to be nicotine-free at least 6 months before sending your application. There will be no time to take a break outside of the plane. And just like you should for any other job, clean up your social media. If there are any sexy selfies or pictures of you partying too hard, you might want to delete them before your future boss sees them. A flight attendant has to be perfect and professional all the time, even before getting the job. The skills. These ladies and gentlemen don't only have the beauty but the brains too. Most airlines accept future flight attendants who only have a high school degree. But as there are many people competing against you, you might want to learn more about something that could be relevant to do this job. Actually, almost 50% of all flight attendants are also college graduates. Many airlines are also interested in someone who has some kind of customer relations experience, usually at least 2 years. When it comes to strength, you should be able to lift 50 pounds from the floor to your waist and 22 pounds above your head. The cabin crew from EasyJet should also be able to swim 25 meters without any assistance and tread water for at least a minute. But things become a little crazy when it comes to training. TAM Airlines puts future flight attendants in a maze filled with smoke in a totally dark building. They have to communicate with each other in teams to find the dummy hidden in the maze and then get him to safety. They also have to go through a jungle survival training to see how they can survive in nature if the plane crashes. However, it is often useless to go to a private school to be a flight attendant. The training is specific to each airline, as you will learn about medical emergencies, firefighting, evacuation, water survival, and much more. The personality. On a plane, everyone is in a bad mood after spending hours sitting on a seat, and some people are anxious that the plane might crash. This is why you need flight attendants with the best personalities to deal with that. For example, to work with Emirates groups, you have to fill up an online personality questionnaire. You have to be confident, positive, friendly, flexible, and very keen to help others. But a flight attendant from Air Canada also said that one of the most important things to do this job is being a detached person. You will be spending a lot of time alone, and you will always have to adapt to new people, new environments, and new regulations. So you have to be everyone's best friend only for the time of a flight. Even when you come back home, you will have barely any time to see your family, hang out with friends, or go on dates, as you will have a lot lot of chores to do. It is strange to think that air hostesses are surrounded by people all the time but are still some of the loneliest persons in the world. No matter what, our best advice is to always be yourself. If you pretend to be someone else during the interview, you won't be happy in the long run when you realize that this job isn't for you. Working as a flight attendant is not something that you do, it is something that you are. The application. We already talked about looks, and it starts as soon as you send your application. First impression matters, and you need to look like you are already ready to be a flight attendant. Emirates Group's described in detail all the things that you have to wear for your picture and your interview, and even how to do your makeup. Some of the grooming guidelines requirements include hair neatly tied in a French roll, a French manicure, and a skirt that should be 1 inch below the knee, and closed-toe heels. You need to start by sending your application online and respect a lot of the guidelines. Then you will get your video interview, and it is time to shine as much as you would do in person. Many candidates have the chance to fly to the country where they will be doing the assessment day. Don't forget that the interview starts as soon as you enter the room, so you want to look your best and be friendly to everyone. It is surprising to hear that one of the most important things is not to stand out. You need to do exactly what they want you to do and dress exactly as they expect you to, just like anyone else. You want to show that you will conform to every guideline, so always smile, sell yourself, talk about your best qualities, but make sure that you always correspond to their ideal flight attendant. The makeup. Every detail matters when you are a flight attendant, including the makeup. Usually, you need to have a professional and conventional look, but some airlines are much more specific. First, scars, pimples, and blemishes are not acceptable. If you have some, make sure that no one can notice it when you do your makeup. You should also have no visible tattoo. But this time, don't even try to hide it because they won't accept that you cover it. Each airline has different guidelines for grooming. For examples, lipstick and gloss are required for air hostesses, but it is specified that men cannot wear makeup. Hands and nails should be groomed at all times and can't exceed 1/8 of an inch beyond the fingertip. You also need to remove any visible hair in nostrils or ears. Mustaches cannot be longer than 1/4 of an inch below the sides of the mouth, and trendy facial hairstyles are not permitted. Men and women cannot dye their hair an unnatural color. Hairstyles like dreadlocks, top knots, cornrows, and mohawks are also not permitted. Moreover, flight attendants must have a full frontal complement of clean teeth and use breath sprays or mints. That's a lot of things to remember. If you thought that there were too many rules at private high schools, you are not ready to become a flight attendant. The uniform. So when your makeup is ready, you need to dress up. And once again, there are too many specific guidelines. Airlines have high standards because their clients have high standards. They worked hard and spent a lot of money to choose the right uniform for their brand and right uniform standards. This is why you should respect them. These guidelines include not only your skirt and your shirt, but also your undergarments and the shape of your shoe heel. Each airline has different rules. For example, the maximum hosiery density is 15 denier. You cannot wear more than 2 rings on each hand, and hoop earrings should not be larger than 1.5 inches in diameter and 1/2 inch wide on the surface. Accessories are usually not permitted. The only exception is a watch, and you are limited to specific colors. The skirt must not be more than 1 inch above or 1 inch below the knee. If you have a sweater, you can't tie it around your waist, but only around your shoulders. And remember that no matter how you move, everything must stay in place. We can't believe that someone thought about all of these things. But no matter what, we think that it is comforting to immediately recognize a flight attendant when we see one. The perfection. Don't you think that flight attendants look perfect all the time? And it is not easy to be. You have to be a role model as soon as you put on your uniform and until you take it off, which can take 14 hours. Makeup is really important for air hostesses, but they can never refresh it in the view of the customers. They just need to make them believe that they woke up like this. While they wear the uniform, flight attendants don't have the right to cross or fold arms, slouch, or put their hands in their pockets. We can barely keep ourselves from doing it for an hour, so imagine what it would be like for a whole flight. Flight attendants are the ones who have to deal with a lot of difficult things, including angry passengers and people that are sick. By working so hard, any crew member is exhausted. It's impressive to think that we are on the same plane, but we never see them eat, sleep, or go to the bathroom. That's because they need to make sure that the fact that they are humans and not perfect robots stays a secret. For most of them, the only thing they do the day after is sleep. And no matter what happens, there is always one important thing to remember. Never stop smiling and the world will smile at you. This is the best makeup anyone can wear. The salary. Being a flight attendant can be a good job with interesting benefits. If you work for the Emirates Group, you can make an average of $30,000 per year. Meal allowance, hotel accommodation, and transport is provided by the company. You can even live for free in an apartment with other flight attendants. Unfortunately, there is one thing that is really unfair, and you will simply have to deal with that. Flight attendants don't get paid until the plane moves. This means that they spend at least an hour welcoming you in the plane and helping you lift your bag, but they are not paid for that. They just do it because they are nice. If there is a delay, they are not paid during that time, and if there is a cancellation, they are not paid at all. This is something anyone should know before accepting to do this job. Moreover, you can easily be fired at the start of your career if the economy is bad or if they hire too many people. Around 70% of flight attendants have been laid off at least once in their career, no matter if they had a lot of experience or not. Little to no stability is to be expected with this job, even if you have to make a lot of sacrifices to become an air hostess. The commitment. The main reason why most people can't become flight attendants is that they don't want to leave behind the life that they already have. Many air hostesses have to leave their country and their family to move on to a new continent where they don't know anyone. It might be beautiful to travel the world, but it is not always fun when you do it on your own. When you are up in the air all the time, all you can do when you come back home is sleep and do some chores. So don't even think about seeing anyone else than your roommates unless you are on vacation. You can't even plan to see your family on holiday unless you have years of seniority. This is probably why it is not a good idea to be dating someone. But no matter what, this is a great opportunity to save money and enjoy life during the few weeks that you are not working. Traveling the world is also seeing new cities every day and discovering new cultures. It is meeting people that you will never see again but who can become your friends in one flight. So if you are ready to live this unique adventure on your own, being a flight attendant might be for you. And that's it for 10 strange requirements to work as a flight attendant. If you want to see more stories like